Oh, today we are zeroing in on a figure who is, well, tiny, often gets skipped over, I think,
Definitely.
but holds this just huge amount of cosmic weight.
We are talking about perhaps the ultimate cosmic irritant.
Right.
The squirrel from Norse mythology, Ratatoskr.
Yeah, what is that? He's not just some footnote in this grand epic, is he?
Not at all.
I mean, the sources, they paint him as this, like, critical operational link. He connects heaven and hell, essentially.
That's a good way to put
And
it.
his job. It's just
Yeah.
spreading nasty gossip, malicious words.
Pretty much, yeah. His whole purpose seems to be keeping two of the most powerful beings in the Norse cosmos absolutely furious with each other perpetually.
He's basically, like you said, the universe's most necessary troll. It's kind of amazing.
It is. And this deep dive, I think it's really essential because it forces us, and you listening, to grapple with something core to the Norse worldview, which is the profound ongoing function of necessary chaos, of tension.
Oh.
Ratatoskr isn't just some, cute woodland creature scampering up a tree. He embodies communication that divides, that sustains tension. He makes sure the cosmos never just settles into some kind of, I don't know, static, sterile perfection.
So yeah, our mission today, it's pretty ambitious, actually. We want to get past just, the literal squirrel.
Exactly, the furry exterior.
And really dig into what he symbolizes, right?
Yeah.
The psychological side of it, that inner chatter we all have.
That constant voice, running back and forth in our heads.
And also, like, where does he fit, with other tricksters, other messengers from myths all over the world? Because it seems unique, but also familiar.
He definitely fits into a pattern, but with a twist.
Ultimately, we're trying to figure out, what are the lessons here? What does this super fast little creature tell us about how we communicate, about chaos, about, I guess, the balance of the whole cosmos?
It's quite a lot for one small squirrel.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. So to really get Ratatoskr, to understand why he matters, you absolutely have to start with his environment, his stage, if you will.
And that's Yggdrasil.
That's Yggdrasil, the world tree. And it's crucial to understand this isn't just some poetic backdrop. It's not scenery.
No.
In Norse cosmology, it is the ultimate structure. It's the axis mundi, the cosmic center point around which everything, all of reality, turns.
I think a lot of people maybe picture Yggdrasil as this, beautiful, serene, maybe slightly boring giant tree. Just sort of there.
Right. Majestic but static.
Yeah. But the sources, they make it sound much, much messier, more alive.
Yeah.
And totally central for existence itself.
That's exactly. It is the entirety of creation, in a way. The sources are clear that all the 9 worlds, Asgard, the realm of the gods up top.
Midgard, where humans live.
Midgard, exactly. And then the sort of more dangerous underworlds, Jotunheimer, Niflheim, Muspelheim. All of them are literally connected by this one single ash tree.
Held together by its branches and roots.
Held in relation. If the tree dies, the sources imply, well, that's it. Existence ends. It's the framework, the vertical spine, and really the living, pulsing heart of all being.
It's kind of like the original internet, isn't it? But organic. A massive, maybe decentralized network.
That's a great analogy.
But instead of just data packets flying around, it's transmitting life itself and fate. And crucially for Ratatoskr, tension.
Yes, that concept, tension, is absolutely paramount. We have to keep coming back to it. Yggdrasil is fundamentally an ecology of perpetual controlled conflict.
Well, conflict, that sounds like a contradiction.
It does, but think of it like an ecosystem. It's not designed for perfect tranquility. It's designed for dynamic opposition, things pushing against each other.
Good.
And Ratatoskir's whole existence, his whole job description, is basically predicated on linking these huge opposing forces that are already living on the tree. He connects the poles.
Right, let's talk about those poles.
Yeah.
The titanic forces at either end of this cosmic tree, the endpoints that Ratatoskr runs between. So down at the bottom, deepest roots, cold, dark.
Down there you find Nihugr.
Mihug, the dragon.
No.
Or serpent.
Usually described as a dragon or serpent, yeah. And the name itself, Nihugr, it roughly translates to something like malice striker, or maybe he who strikes with malice.
Ooh, okay. Not friendly.
Definitely not friendly. He's there, coiled around the deepest roots, and he is constantly, endlessly gnawing on them, chewing away at the foundation of existence.
Wow. So he represents what? Decay.
Decay, absolutely. Pure destruction, maybe entropy, the inevitable tendency of the material world to just fall apart, to return to nothingness. He's the chthonic force.
Chthonic, meaning?
Meaning like primal, deep, earthbound, often dark, the force that wants to undermine the structure from below.
Okay, so you've got ultimate decay, malice, destruction, chewing at the foundations. That's one end.
Mm-hmm.
Now swing all the way up, way, way up to the highest branches, the crown of Yggdrasil. What's up there?
High above, perched in the crown, you have the mighty, all-seeing eagle.
An eagle. Okay.
And this creature, it represents the opposite. Vision, lofty ideals, celestial perspective, the insight maybe of the gods looking down.
To see the big picture.
Exactly. And the sources even mention sometimes a hawk named Verfulnir sitting right between the eagle's eyes.
Really? What's that about?
It seems to amplify that sharp-eyed perspective, like double vision, divine focus.
Mm-hmm.
This is the celestial end of the spectrum. Bright, intellectual, maybe spiritual, overseeing everything.
It's striking, isn't it, how perfectly balanced that design feels. It's not just, some random dragon and some random eagle. They are deliberately placed at the extreme ends of this cosmic axis.
Absolutely deliberate, polar opposites.
And then you mentioned there are other elements too, right? It's not just those two. There are stags and the Norns.
Yes. The whole tree is teeming with life and activity, all contributing to this dynamic balance. You have, for instance, 4 stags, Dane, Dvalin, Dunir, and Duraror, who are constantly nibbling at the leaves.
Nibbling the leaves. Is that bad for the tree?
Well, it's consumption, but it seems to be part of a cycle, like necessary pruning maybe, a continuous renewal through consumption. It keeps the tree growing, perhaps.
Okay, so even the damage is part of the system.
Exactly. And then beneath the roots, near Nihöggr actually, but separate, you have the 3 Norns, Urr, Verandi, and Skald.
The Weavers of Fate.
The Weavers of Fate, the sacred wells there, the Well of Urr especially, they draw water, mix it with earth, sprinkle it on the roots to keep the tree from rotting. And they are constantly weaving and sometimes cutting the threads of destiny for gods and mortals alike.
Wow, so the whole thing is just alive. It's not a static monument. It's this vital, maybe struggling organism.
That's the key word, organism. Everything is consuming something else, renewing itself, probably arguing, definitely opposing its counterpart.
Like a real ecosystem.
Precisely. And the health of this cosmic ecosystem, its stability, depends entirely on its ability to sustain this internal conflict, this tension. It thrives on it.
Okay, so if this whole massive tree, Yggdrasil, is already humming with this controlled dynamic tension, the Ratatoskr, our squirrel, he's like the live wire connecting the 2 biggest batteries, right? The eagle and the serpent.
That's a perfect way to think about it.
So why? Why can't the eagle and the serpent just, shout at each other across the tree or send a bird? Why do they need this specific middleman? And the big question, why does that middleman have to be malicious?
And that question, that takes us right into the heart of the mythology, doesn't it? It shifts us from just describing the cosmology to understanding its functional theology, maybe?
Yeah.
Why the intermediary? Why the corrupt intermediary? It suggests something profound about the Norse view of communication itself.
What's that?
It seems the Norse genius, whoever shaped these myths, realized that maybe pure, unmediated truth, especially between absolute spirit, like the eagle's insight, and absolute entropy, Nihöggr's decay, maybe that direct exchange is just too destructive. Or maybe too overwhelming. Maybe it needs a filter, even a nasty one.
Which brings us squarely to Ratatoskr himself. And one of the most, frankly, surprising things about him when you look at the sources is how little is actually said, how brief his appearance is in the main text we rely on.
Exactly. And this is where we get into section 2. We're looking primarily at Snorri Sturluson's prose Edda, specifically the part called Gylfaginning.
The deluding of Gylfi.
That's the one, chapter 16. And Ratatoskr, this figure we're saying, is so crucial, he gets exactly 1 sentence.
1 sentence, that's it, for the creature keeping the whole axis mundi buzzing with energy.
1 single but incredibly potent sentence.
It almost feels like, I don't know, a clerical error. Or maybe his function was just so obvious, so constant in their culture, that Snorri felt no need to elaborate. Like everyone just knew what the squirrel did.
That's possible. The text is shockingly concise, but you're right. Every single word in that sentence feels loaded, freighted with meaning. It just says, basically, the squirrel called Ratatoskr runs up and down the ash, bearing envious words between the eagle and Nidhogg.
Envious words.
Envious words. And the implication is, this is his permanent job. It's ceaseless, nonstop. He just runs up and down, bearing this stuff.
The genius is in that phrasing, isn't it? He doesn't just carry messages or news or information. He carries envious words.
Precisely. And this is where we really need to pause and dig into that specific Old Norse term. The analysis highlights that the word translated as envious words is often linked to the concept of nidhs. N-I-D-H.
UDs.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that encompass?
Ni is a powerful and quite negative concept in Old Norse society. It means more than just envy. It covers malicious speech, scorn, slander, deep-seated ill will, taunting, insult, especially words that question someone's honor or courage.
So, like, really potent insults, socially damaging stuff.
Hugely damaging. Accusations involving Ni were incredibly serious. They could destroy reputations, break alliances, and often led to violence, like formal duels or even complete ostracization from the community. It was social poison.
Okay, so Ratatoskr isn't just running up and down relaying neutral information. He's not carrying, like, diplomatic updates or weather forecasts between the top and bottom of the tree.
Definitely not. He is exclusively trafficking in this social poison. He's ensuring that whatever the eagle might be thinking or saying, Nihögr down below receives a twisted, insulting, provoking version of it.
And vice versa, presumably.
And vice versa. Whatever dark mutterings come from Nihögr get carried up, laced with extra malice and scorn for the eagle.
So his function is, like, explicitly antagonistic. He's built not to mediate, not to find common ground or foster understanding.
Quite the opposite. He's an agent of maximal miscommunication. He ensures the lines of communication remain open, but toxic.
That's such a subtle and, frankly, kind of dark insight from the Norse imagination, isn't it? That the connection itself, the messenger, the very infrastructure carrying signals between the highest spirit and the lowest matter, that connection might be inherently flawed or mischievous or deliberately duplicitous.
It's incredibly insightful. It suggests that the message is intended to be distorted. It's meant to be weaponized with malice, purely to provoke a reaction and maintain hostility.
So if the dragon down there is just, doing its job, gnawing because that's its nature, maybe it mutters something like, I am fulfilling my purpose, consuming what must decay.
Right. Basic ontological statement.
Ratatoskr hears that, runs it up the tree, and maybe tells the eagle, that vile worm down there. He says your whole high and mighty realm is pointless, built on rot, and he delights in bringing it all down.
Exactly. He amps up the antagonism. He makes sure the two parties stay completely polarized, maybe even misunderstanding each other's fundamental nature. He's the ultimate saboteur of genuine dialogue.
But, and this is the mind-bending part, the sources lead us to think this sabotage is necessary.
It appears so. This is the radical realization. Connection, in this model, does not equal communion or understanding. In fact, connection, especially when handled by a malicious agent like Ratatoskr, can guarantee perpetual friction. It keeps the system charged.
And without that charge, without that friction, what happens? You mentioned this terrifying prospect.
Yeah.
Stillness.
Yes. If the eagle and Nidhögr ever somehow bypassed the squirrel, maybe found another way to communicate, and actually achieved a state of perfect, peaceful understanding, what would happen to Yggdrasil?
It stops vibrating. The energy flow stops.
The whole dynamic system could grind to a halt. The sources strongly imply that if Ratatoskr stopped his incessant malicious chatter, the universe might just freeze. It would become this sterile, static, perfect, but ultimately lifeless structure. Ratatoskr is the engine of the cosmic drama. He prevents the story from ending. He's the cosmic gossip columnist who ensures the show must go on, even if it's fueled by negativity.
This is really profound. It forces us right back to that critical question you raised, the one sort of underpinning this whole deep dive. Is discord, at some fundamental level, actually necessary for life? Does momentum, whether it's cosmic momentum or even like personal growth, does it require some constant irritating spark? Maybe even a spark of malice, of need, just to keep things moving?
That question, that functional necessity of discord, is exactly what bridges the huge cosmic mythology down to the personal, the psychological realm, which leads us right into Section 3.
Right, because Ratatoskr isn't just some abstract force out there on the world tree.
No, he's also an archetype, a psychological reality. We find him inside ourselves, too.
We definitely all have that inner Ratatoskr, that chattering voice. But maybe let's first quickly solidify his place in the bigger picture as a trickster messenger figure. He seems to tick the boxes, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He's got that key quality, liminality. He moves between worlds, between the high and the low. That's classic trickster territory.
Boundary crosser.
And he's fundamentally linked to communication, albeit corrupted communication, and deceit.
Undeniably part of that global pantheon of figures. But as the sources often point out, he represents a very specific kind of trickster messenger. He's almost the shadow side of Logos.
Logos, meaning like divine reason or the ordering principle.
Exactly. Figures like, say, Hermes in Greek myth or Thoth in Egyptian myth, they often represent Logos speech that ideally unites, orders, creates meaning, even if Hermes does it trickily.
Okay.
Ratatoskr seems to represent the distortion of Logos, speech that specifically divides. He takes genuine meaning, potentially, and twists it into something inflammatory, something mocking, something purely designed to cause trouble. His communication is corrosive, not constructive.
Okay, that distinction is clear. So let's do it. Let's take this psychological deep dive. How does this whole mythological structure, eagle, serpent, squirrel, mirror what's going on inside the human psyche, inside the listener's own inner life?
It maps surprisingly cleanly, actually. Think about your own inner world. You have your highest ideals, right? Your conscience, your moral compass, your biggest dreams and ambitions, your capacity for insight.
Okay.
That's the eagle. That's the part of you that surveys the big picture, the lofty perspective. You could call it the superego in Freudian terms.
Right, the ideal self. And then
deep down, you have, well, the other stuff.
Yeah.
Your base appetites, your primal drives, your suppressed fears, your shadow aspects, the instinctive, unconscious, sometimes messy and irrational part of you.
Okay.
That's the serpent, Nidhaga. That's the id, the instinctual driver.
And Ratatoskr is?
Ratatoskr is the thought pattern running frantically between them.
He is the inner chatterer.
He is. That ceaseless, rapid-fire mental stream that's constantly mediating or maybe interfering between your highest aspirations and your deepest instincts.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say the eagle part of your ambition, your superego, has a noble thought. I really must start working on that important, challenging project that could really advance my life.
Okay, positive intention.
Positive intention from the eagle. But instantly, the inner Ratatoskr grabs that message, scurries down the psychic tree trunk, and whispers it to the serpent of your self-doubt and fear, the id, but twisted.
How does he twist it?
He might translate it as, hey, embarking on that huge project, that's terrifying. It'll expose you as incompetent. You'll definitely fail. Everyone will see it. It's safer to just stay put and maybe watch some more TV.
Wow. Okay. So he takes the eagle's call to action and turns it into fuel for the serpent's fear and inertia.
Exactly. He's the nervous filter, the internal spin doctor, constantly interpreting signals. He takes the raw data from your high-minded plans and filters it through lenses of anxiety, past failures, potential humiliation, before it even reaches your center of willpower.
And does it work the other way, too? From the serpent up to the eagle?
Absolutely. Let's say the serpent of your raw appetite, your whispers urgently. I desperately want to eat that entire chocolate cake right now. Forget the diet.
Primal urge.
Primal urge from Nidhaga. Ratatoskr instantly grabs that raw instinctive desire, zips up the tree, and presents it to the eagle of your rational mind, your superego, but again, twisted and rationalized.
How does he spin that one?
He might say to the eagle, look, you've worked so hard lately, you absolutely deserve a reward. This cake is practically medicinal. Besides, one slice won't hurt, and you can totally start the diet again tomorrow. Think of the pleasure. The consequences are minimal, really.
Okay, yeah, I recognize that voice. He justifies the appetite, makes excuses, and basically undermines the eagle's long-term insight or discipline.
Precisely. He serves the immediate impulse by manipulating the higher faculty. He's like the nervous system of the ego, constantly trying to manage, interpret, and often misinterpret the signals flying between our highest ideals and our lowest drives.
And the argument here, based on the mythology, is that this internal mischief, this constant noisy chatter, it's actually what keeps our psyche dynamic. It prevents us from getting stuck.
That seems to be the implication. It's the friction that maintains psychic equilibrium, oddly enough. If the eagle and the serpent within you weren't constantly in this state of argument, mediated by the frantic squirrel,
What would happen?
you'd become static, psychologically inert. You might become either a purely ethereal, high-minded idealist, completely detached from reality and your own needs.
Like all eagle, no serpent.
Right. Or, conversely, you could become just a creature of pure, base appetite, driven solely by instinct with no reflection or higher purpose. All serpent, no eagle.
So the internal argument, the tension generated by Ratatoskr running back and forth, is actually what keeps us, well, human, dynamically negotiating who we are between these poles.
That's a powerful way to see it. He's the necessary irritant. The constant buzz that forces self-reflection, negotiation, and adaptation, even if that irritation often feels like anxiety or procrastination or rationalization.
It's born from malice, or maybe just mischief, but it keeps the engine turning.
And this idea, this active, almost aggressive nature, it's right there in his name, isn't it? We should probably touch on the etymology.
Right, the name Ratatoskr, it doesn't exactly sound cute and fluffy when you break it down.
No, the scholarship isn't completely settled, but the most common interpretations suggest it means something like drill tooth or
Gnawtooth?
drill tooth or gnaw tooth. Okay, that's definitely not just a messenger squirrel. That's potent imagery.
It really is.
Yeah.
He's not presented as soft. He's a creature that pierces. He drills through the bark of the world tree, maybe pierces through complacency, pierces through surfaces to get the message across. So he stimulates, but also irritates simultaneously.
That seems to be the idea. He's the agent who bores a hole, maybe where there wasn't one, forcing communication, forcing a connection, even if it's a painful one. He gnaws away at things.
He's like the spark of differentiation, maybe the thing that ensures dialogue happens, even if that dialogue is just a perpetual nagging quarrel.
Exactly. He isn't necessarily evil in the sense of wanting total destruction like Nihirgra might represent, but he is the perpetual agent of necessary disagreement, necessary stimulation. He keeps things from getting too smooth, too settled.
So if we think of consciousness itself, maybe, as this ongoing argument within us, the eagle versus the serpent, Ratatoskr is the constant buzzing sound of that argument actually taking place, the process itself. Without his drilling and gnawing, the tree's surface, maybe our own consciousness, would be too smooth, too sealed off, too silent, and maybe stagnant.
That's a fascinating way to frame it. The noise is necessary for the life of the system.
Okay, wow. So here's where it gets really interesting, I think. If the Norse, in their wisdom or their worldview, recognized that their central cosmic structure needed this figure, this specialist in malicious intermediary work, how did other major cultures deal with this? Because surely other traditions also had to explain the tricky relationship between heaven, earth, the high and the low, and the inevitable chaos or mischief involved in connecting them.
Absolutely. The figure of the agile, often morally ambiguous, sometimes outright corrupt messenger or intermediary is surprisingly universal. Looking at parallels really helps define Ratatoskr more clearly, often by highlighting the contrasts.
Okay, where should we start? Who's a good comparison?
Well, the most obvious one, maybe especially in the Western tradition, is the Greek god Hermes.
Hermes, yeah. The Olympian messenger god, definitely a trickster.
Right. He's incredibly liminal, isn't he? Moves effortlessly between Olympus, the realm of the gods, Earth, the realm of mortals, and even down into Hades, the underworld.
Total boundary crosser.
Yeah.
He's the guide of souls, the patron of travelers, merchants, but also thieves.
Exactly. That inherent ambiguity is key. He's associated with the invention of language itself, but also with clever speech, negotiation, and sometimes outright deceit. He can save you, or he can steal your cattle, sometimes in the same story.
So he shares Ratatoskr's agility, that quick movement between realms, and the connection to communication and potential trickery.
Definitely. But the crucial difference, as the sources usually articulate it, seems to be in the outcome or the function of their messaging.
How so?
Hermes, despite his mischief, despite his trickery, often acts as a facilitator. His communication, even when complicated, generally provides a mechanism for bridging divisions, for opening pathways, sometimes even for healing through dialogue or negotiation. He connects realms in a way that allows for passage and exchange.
Okay, and Ratatoskr.
Ratatoskr, based on that single stark sentence, seems designed purely to sustain the division, to deepen the rift. His communication is specifically intentionally corrosive. It's meant to keep the wound between the eagle and Nihirgra perpetually open, raw, inflamed.
So Hermes might, complicate things, but ultimately connect, whereas Ratatoskr guarantees hostility remains.
That seems to be the core functional difference. Ratatoskr is almost the anti-Hermes in terms of outcome. Hermes enables connection. Ratatoskr weaponizes it to ensure conflict.
Okay, that's a really useful contrast. Let's shift continents. How about Africa? I know the figure of Anansi, the spider, comes up in West African traditions, particularly Akan folklore.
And Nancy is another fantastic comparison, especially thinking about Ratatoskr's role as a sort of networker.
Because Anansi spins webs.
Exactly. The spider is the master weaver. He literally spins this intricate web, which is such a clear, powerful symbol for a communication network, isn't it? Connecting disparate points in the world, or even between heaven and earth in some stories.
Right, and Anansi, like Ratatoskr, he's small, he's clever, often underestimated.
Very much so, and constantly in motion, always scheming. But Anansi's domain is primarily narrative manipulation. He deals in stories.
He's known for his ability to trick others, to manipulate stories, twist the truth, usually to gain something, knowledge, power, food, or sometimes just for the sheer fun of causing trouble.
Right, and the sources often point out that through Anansi's tales, humanity learns about both the incredible power of speech and storytelling, but also the inherent danger of using that power for self-serving deception or mischief. He shows how the communication network itself can be exploited.
So, similar to Ratatoskr in being a small, agile manipulator of communication, but maybe focused more on narrative, while Ratatoskr is focused purely on injecting malice.
That seems a fair distinction. Anansi uses the web of stories. Ratatoskr uses the tree trunk of pure antagonism.
Okay. Now, if we're talking about tricksters who embody chaos more directly, maybe we should look at Coyote from many Native American traditions.
Coyote is an essential figure here. He often represents chaos in a more primal, less directed way than Ratatoskr, perhaps.
Yeah, Coyote's chaos seems almost accidental sometimes,
Yeah.
just part of his fundamental nature. He's credited with creating things, but often by mistake. He brings fire, but maybe steals it. He tells lies. He even, in some traditions, accidentally introduces death into the world.
His actions are profoundly disruptive, often breaking established rules or boundaries, but the material consistently suggests that this chaos, this disruption, is actually integral to the way creation works. It's not just negative.
Go so.
Coyote's lies, his failures, his boundary breaking often serve to reveal deeper truths about the world, about human nature, about the messy, unpredictable reality of existence. His chaos prevents things from becoming too rigid, too perfect, too ordered.
So he shares Ratatoskir's liminal movement, moving between different states or realms, and definitely functions as an agent of necessary impurity or disruption.
Yes. Both figures, in their own ways, seem to argue that any vibrant creation story, any living cosmos, requires a dedicated disruptor. Someone has to stir the pot. Coyote and Ratatoskr both seem to say, if you want a dynamic world, not a dead one, you absolutely need an agent of perpetual unpredictability and friction.
But it's not all negative or purely chaotic, is it? Are there messengers who have that same kind of agility, that speed, that boundary-crossing energy, but use it for good?
Oh, absolutely. And that provides another crucial contrast. Think about Hanuman from the Hindu tradition, especially the Ramayana.
Hanuman, right? The monkey god.
Yes, the Vinari. Hanuman is the absolute paragon of agility, speed, devotion, and interworld travel. He makes these incredible leaps, traversing vast distances between the earthly realm and the realms of gods or demons, primarily in service to Rama.
So the energy is similar, that quick, almost electric movement.
Fundamentally similar energy, yes. Agile, fast, clever, connective. Very Ratatoskr-like in sheer dynamism.
But the intent, the message.
Completely different. Hanuman's actions, his speech, his leaps, they are all defined by bhakti, deep devotion and selfless service. His message is always aimed at helping, rescuing, conveying truth, providing aid. It's fundamentally redemptive, not corrupting.
So Hanuman is almost like Ratatoskr redeemed, or Ratatoskir's potential energy channeled towards the sacred instead of malice.
That's an excellent way to put it. He shows us that the capacity for constant, rapid, inter-realm communication, that energy is neutral. It can be used for good or ill. It's the intent and the character of the messenger that determines whether the outcome is malicious division or devoted connection.
That contrast really clarifies Ratatoskir's specific function. It allows us to draw maybe one more key comparison, perhaps to a figure representing perfect, ordered sacred speech.
Thoth from Egyptian mythology serves that role perfectly.
Thoth, the ibis-headed god, the scribe.
The divine scribe, yes. The keeper of sacred knowledge, the inventor of writing and hieroglyphs, the master of wisdom, magic, and measurement. And crucially, the perfect orator. His role is fundamentally about maintaining Mat.
Mat meaning cosmic order, truth, justice, balance.
Exactly. Thoth ensures that Ma is sustained through divine, precise, truthful, ordering speech. His words create and maintain structure.
Okay, so if Thoth represents logos, pure, flawless, sacred speech that organizes the cosmos,
then Ratatoskr represents the opposite. He's the embodiment of noise, of chatter, of profane, disordered communication that specifically prevents the organization from becoming too rigid, too settled.
they're like two ends of a spectrum.
Precisely. The spectrum of cosmic communication. You need the clarity and order of logos, represented by Thoth, but maybe you also need the constant, ambiguous, irritating chatter of Ratatoskr to keep things from becoming lifelessly perfect.
The world needs both voices to be complete. Thoth speaks the sacred laws, the underlying geometry of the universe.
And Ratatoskr shouts the contradictory whispers, the petty grievances, the sometimes cruel jokes that remind everyone of the universe's inherent imperfection and tension. Both are necessary for the whole complex picture of reality as the Norse saw it.
Wow. Okay, one last parallel, and this one feels particularly direct in terms of function. The linguistic connection to the idea of the devil in, say, early medieval Christian thought.
Yes, this isn't about equating Ratatoskr with the Christian devil theologically, but about a fascinating linguistic and functional parallel. The sources point out the Greek root of the word devil,
Which is diabolos.
diabolos, and what does it literally mean?
It means the slanderer, or the accuser, or maybe most relevant here, the one who divides.
The one who divides. So the core function attributed to the ultimate spiritual antagonist in this linguistic root isn't primarily destruction, but division achieved through malicious communication, through slander, accusation, envy.
And Rataskr's job description is literally bearing envious words, bearing nia, between the eagle and Niahurg.
Exactly. His relentless specific action perfectly mirrors that core diabolic function of sowing discord, of driving wedges, of ensuring that two parties remain hostile through whispered malice and envy. He is the agent of necessary but painful separation and antagonism. He embodies the divisive whisper.
That brings us perfectly full circle, doesn't it? We've mapped out his cosmic stage on Yggdrasil. We've seen his incredibly brief but loaded job description. We've looked in the psychological mirror, and we've placed him among his global siblings and opposites. So now we need to synthesize. What does this tiny, hyperactive, malicious squirrel actually mean for the ongoing operation, the very life of the Norse cosmos?
I think the central metaphor that emerges from the sources, the one that ties all these threads together most powerfully, is seeing Ratatoskr in relation to Yggdrasil as a body.
Okay. If Yggdrasil is this massive, living, cosmic body, the ultimate organism,
The Ratatoskr is the nervous impulse.
the electrical charge,
Yeah.
the signal jumping across the synapse.
Exactly. He's that spark, that electrical charge, perpetually jumping across the gap between the two major poles of this cosmic body. The lofty brain or spirit, the eagle's insight, and the deep gut or instinct, the serpent's entropy.
So his constant restless chatter isn't just noise, it's the sound of the world's inner electricity, the background hum keeping the whole system alive.
That's the idea. It keeps it alive through transmitted tension. It's the buzz of existence itself. Consciousness, maybe, whether it's the cosmos's consciousness or our own individual consciousness, it's defined by this perpetual, restless, sometimes agitating, maybe even destructive flow of energy. The system needs Ratatoskr to prevent stagnation, to prevent the circuits from just going dead.
It really underscores how the Norse imagination wasn't aiming for some peaceful utopia, was it? It wasn't sentimental. It seems profoundly realistic, almost tragic in a way.
I agree. They seem to understand deeply that even the most sacred foundational structure, the world tree itself, could not be, and maybe should not be, immune to the seeds of imperfection, to misunderstanding, gossip, envy, and the slow, constant gnawing of entropy from below.
Ratatoskr is the living guarantee that the high and the low, the spirit and the matter, heaven and hell, whatever you do call the poles, they remain in active conversation.
Even if that conversation is a permanent argument, he ensures the continuity of the cosmic drama, the cosmic conflict. He's proof that, for the Norse, stability wasn't found in the absence of conflict, but in the dynamic balance of ongoing conflict.
There's something almost beautiful about that in a really chaotic way, that he's characterized almost as the sound of the tree's own inner life murmuring.
Yes, the sap rising, the leaves rustling, the roots groaning, the eagle screeching, the serpent hissing. And Ratatoskr is the sound of all that tension being communicated, however imperfectly.
He's the ambiguous murmur, the sometimes cruel whisper, maybe even the laughter echoing in the sacred space. He's the pure noise that nonetheless generates a necessary spark of reaction and keeps the tree from just becoming an inert, silent monument.
He is the laughter in the temple, maybe?
Yeah.
The necessary bit of profanity, the irritating grit in the oyster that perhaps produces the pearl. He embodies that core idea. Life requires friction.
So what does this all mean? All right, let's try to pull together the key takeaways from this deep dive into the squirrel who apparently runs the world, or at least keeps it running. Ratatoskr, he's the necessary irritant, isn't he? He's the psychological interpreter of our inner conflicts. And he's kind of the embodiment of communication's inherent potential for, well, flaws, for corruption, for division.
I think that covers it well.
Hmm.
He teaches us that even the most organized, most sacred structures like Yggdrasil are fueled not by perfect harmony, but by this perpetual, restless, often ambiguous and contradictory energy flow.
Every healthy system maybe needs its trickster, its agent of chaos.
It seems that way. Every living cosmology, maybe every functional system, needs its element of unpredictability, its source of friction. And Ratatoskr smallness, his sheer speed and ceaselessness, make him uniquely potent in that role. He's a constant, low-level irritant.
He reminds us that the health of a system, maybe even a person, isn't measured by its absolute tranquility.
No, but perhaps by its capacity to manage and channel that dynamic friction, to live with the tension.
Okay, and for you listening right now, the direct application here, the challenge maybe, is to recognize your own inner Ratatoskr. Think about that constant busy flow of thoughts, that internal commentary running between your highest ideals, your inner eagle of ambition and insight, and your deepest instincts and fears, your inner serpent of appetite and doubt.
That voice we all know so well.
Yeah. How often does your inner squirrel grab a message from one pole and distort it before delivering it to the other, injecting fear into your ambition, or maybe whispering justifications for your temptations? That internal friction, that chatter, it can feel exhausting, right?
Definitely.
But maybe, just maybe, that's precisely where the engine of personal growth finds its fuel. That tension is where the work happens.
Ratatoskr is the squirrel who saves the universe and maybe saves us individually from absolute stillness, from stagnation. So perhaps a final thought to leave you with. As you go through your week, maybe consider this. If friction, if discord even a form of necessary need, that challenging energy if that's truly essential for vitality, for momentum, what form of creative disagreement or constructive conflict or necessary irritation might you need to embrace right now in your work, in your relationships, in your own development? Maybe the greatest threat to growth isn't actually conflict or challenge, but settling into an absolute, perfect, and ultimately sterile kind of peace. Maybe we all need our inner Ratatoskr just a little bit to keep us moving.